here it goes. So where were you when you saw the Northern Lights?
Too expensive at the top of the
Yeah,
mountain.
yeah.
The spectacular one.
What color did you see first? Green, pink, or purple?
Green.
Were
Green.
you freezing or too amazed to care?
I was too amazed to care. But after 5 minutes, I realized that freeze is catching up on.
How would you say Northern Lights is? Magical silence or wild cheering?
Magical silence.
Yeah, I thought you answered it while describing it. One word to describe that first moment seeing them.
Oh, like amazed.
Phone camera or just your eyes?
Just my eyes for the first glimpse.
Northern Lights or the sunrise in the mountains? Pick one.
Northern Lights. If you can get it easily.
Hot cocoa, whiskey, or coffee for Aurora watching?
Hot cocoa.
More amazing in person or overhyped on Instagram?
More amazing in person.
Would you do it again even if it meant another icy night?
No. I think only reason is the only reason I won't do it again because enduring -40 it's not easy. I mentioned all the good things, but I just wanted to tell that I like photography, and while photographing I had to take my hands out of my gloves, and after clicking I could hardly click 1-2 photos, and I had to rush inside in the hut to shake myself, and I had like almost like frostbite couple of times. So it's I am contented to do it once. That's all I can say.
In this episode on TravewithSaave, we are joined by an adventurous traveler who journeyed into Alaska in the heart of November, braving the cold and chasing the skies to experience the breathtaking phenomenon of the Northern Lights. Don't miss this conversation filled with awe, wonder, and deep insights about the Northern Lights.
Hey, hi Sushant. Welcome to yet another episode on TravewithSaave. So, what intrigues me is the today's destination which we are going to discuss. It is more about Northern Lights, right? But whenever anyone thinks about Northern Lights, most people think about Norway, Finland. You are one of those people, at least few people in my acquaintances, who has gone to Alaska to experience Northern Lights. So that is one. And because of this reason, I was actually reading up on Alaska, and I came across some facts which I was totally unaware about. Alaska supposedly was bought out by US from Russia back in 1860s, and
Yeah.
that got me reading more about it. So tell me, first things first. So tell me what was the thought behind Alaska, right? Was it only Northern Lights, or maybe you had heard about you had traveled before? Just share some inputs about how not Alaska came about.
Yeah. So this trip was mainly focused on Northern Lights for a couple of reasons. Is that I had been to Alaska first. This was my second trip to Alaska. So during my first trip to Alaska, I had covered Alaska during like late summer and early fall. So the
Okay.
landscape and the activities which we did that time was different. Like it was like glacier cruise experience, kayak in the sea, Denali National Park during that time, which was like back in 2019.
Okay.
During that trip of mine, we didn't do Northern Lights. We went in the month of late August.
Okay.
And it was like almost the start of Northern Lights, but still not like a very good time to witness Northern Lights, and we didn't have that in our itinerary during that time. So this time when I planned the Alaska trip, it was solely focused on Northern Lights. I think it was a bucket list item on for me. And most of the other things I had already experienced in my first trip. So this was something I had never done in my life, witnessing Northern Lights. And yeah, this trip was solely focusing to chase the Northern Lights.
So you mentioned about the seasons. So what's the ideal season? One, to visit Alaska in general to explore the overall state, and second for Northern Lights. If you can share some insights on that.
Yeah. So, Alaska is different during mainly during summers and winters.
Yeah.
Um, During the summer's season, you get to experience some activities such as Denali National Park. Denali National Park is a very beautiful national park of
Okay.
Alaska in the US. So that is open during summer and that gets closed during the month of October and then reopens again like around April timeline, end of April timeline, May when the snow melts.
Okay.
And during summer months, you get to do glacier cruises. So
Okay.
that's also very beautiful because they take you in a cruise boat near the glaciers, and
Nice.
it's such a surreal experience as well. And some of the beautiful moments of my life as well during that cruise experience. And there are also many fun activities to do during the month of summer, such as Kenai Falls National Park to see the waterfalls, fjords,
Okay.
and all. And also, you can do kayaking, like sea
Nice.
kayaking. In there is like a small town called Seward, as you mentioned, right, about Russia, US
Yeah.
buying Russia. So if you see Seward, it's almost like very close to the Russian border from that town, and that town also has like few Russian shops and all, so you can get a feel like you're very close to Russia, and all that geography comes into mind when think
I was
about
about
it.
to
The
ask
point
how are
which
things over there. Is Alaska the Kashmir of US?
uh, I would say yeah, it is definitely picturesque and very beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you can say that it's like similar to Kashmir. But there are other places in US also which are equally beautiful and you can get a feel of Kashmir. But yeah, Alaska is surreal in that way. Yeah, yeah, like Kashmir, Leh, Ladakh, you can see snow-clad mountains, the Mount Cook ranges, uh, and it's very a lot of things and regions are untouched still over there.
Yeah.
Even I think the places I visited, like I can say, still is commercialized, but still it's not that much compared to the other parts of the US. And there are still many places internal to Alaska which I haven't explored yet, maybe in future, but that's very remote and as well. So as you mentioned, this is a summer month, and then again there is also winter months to see Alaska, where you can get to see the northern lights. So in summer, there is not much probability to see the northern lights. So let's say from April to September, you won't see northern lights because
Okay.
the days are longer
Correct.
and the nights are shorter. And also, they say the northern lights are always there in
Hmm.
that region, but depending upon the season, the cloud cover and the daylight and all, it matters to see them. And winter months are absolutely spectacular to see northern lights in Alaska. So I would recommend for anyone, let's
Yeah.
say who is going for the first time,
Yeah.
I would recommend them to go during month of late September, early October, or
Mhm.
during March, because you can get the best of both. I would highly
Okay.
recommend like month of October because you can definitely plan in such a way that you can get to see the northern lights, and
Okay.
along with that, you can also do some other activities,
Okay.
like the ones I mentioned, like
So
glacier
it's
cruise.
like the peripheral
Should
phase, right? Where you can experience both things, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's like the peripheral phrase.
Yeah.
And if you like miss out on something, you can always have other thing to compensate for that. So
Yeah.
you will always get something out of your trip. So I would definitely recommend for first timers to highly choose month of October or
Okay.
like March.
Actually, one of my friends with whom I have shot the Tanzania episode, he's planning a trip to US and he messaged me yesterday night. Please get your podcast done with your friend who has been to Alaska. I want to plan that and I'm waiting for that podcast to be out because he wants to get insights from this podcast about Alaska. He's planning his next trip to
Oh,
US and Alaska. Right.
I
So he
see.
was,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Hopefully he finds this
yeah.
useful.
So, see, as a person who has grown up in India and heard about Alaska, it's more like a country laden with ice and snow-capped mountains, right? that's the maximum extent of visuals which I can get, or thoughts what is there. But what you mentioned about the national park and the experiences which are there, I guess, like you mentioned, it's non-commercialized yet, but it's picking up, right? Being a spot on the tourist, or maybe someone who likes adventures or being in nature. That is something which people are looking towards it for. So,
Yeah.
coming to your trip, right? You mentioned you guys went in the month of November, you and your
Mhm.
wife. So, how did you plan? Like, do you need to have any special planning, booking, or any guidelines to follow before going over there, or maybe especially for Northern Lights? Anything to while planning? I mean, anything to note or be aware about? How did you go about it? About planning the whole trip?
Yeah, so we decided almost like 2.5 months in advance that
Mhm.
we are thinking to go to Alaska. Like end of September, early October, we thought about this
Mm.
and that we will go to Alaska. And then first things first, for we got an idea of the temperatures during that time, and it's very cold. So I would like to share that on the coldest temperature on one of the days was -40.
Oh,
So you can imagine -40. So you cannot stand for more than 5 minutes outside in that cold.
yeah.
So even like we experienced that amount of coldness for the first time in life, and we weren't also much prepared for that. We did not anticipate it to go that low. We were we thought, oh, it may go like -10, -15, and all. And so first of all, we thought we went about like to having an idea of the temperatures during
Mm.
those time, like end of November, and then we broke the itinerary, having the major emphasis on like Northern Lights. So
Yeah.
for Northern Lights, there is a particular region called Fairbanks in Alaska,
Okay.
from where it is the best shot to see the Northern Lights. The
Okay.
reason is because the way Northern Lights is seen, there is something called as a KPI index.
Yeah.
So if the KPI index basically is the geographic location of that place through which you can see the Northern Lights. So Northern Lights for a particular amount of the year are always up in the sky. But the regions like Finland, Norway, Alaska are like KP index 0 locations. So during if the skies are dark enough, if you look up, you have a good chance of seeing the northern lights. But that probability reduces if you go downwards from Alaska to KP index different places.
Okay.
So our main stronghold was like Fairbanks, um, but like uh, to plan this trip, we allocated maximum time to be in Fairbanks. So we were there for 3 nights.
Okay.
The reason being, it's like it's not always guaranteed that you will see the Northern Lights during the first attempt. It depends a lot on environmental factors, weather, cloud cover, haze in the sky. The sky should be dark, moonlight, and all. Lot of phenomena are involved, and you also need that luck. So, as our itinerary was mainly focused on Northern Lights, we allocated maximum time to Fairbanks. So we allocated, keeping that in mind, we kept 3 nights. And then the major airport in Alaska is Anchorage. And so we flew into Anchorage. And we had to fly out of Anchorage. And so I went with my wife and a couple of our friends. So
Mm.
none of them had seen Alaska except me. So they also wanted to see Anchorage. So Anchorage is the capital of Alaska. It's a proper city, commercialized city, and it's a little different, but you won't feel that remoteness or
Okay.
uh, like a village type feel. It's like a proper city, Anchorage, and you won't feel you are in Alaska, so you'll feel like you're in a major city. So first was like dividing the days for this itinerary to be in Anchorage for 2 to 3 days and Fairbanks. The next was like think planning the itinerary of what activities should be kept, and then researching about those what activities can be planned. Much to our surprise, lot of things are not were not open during the month
Okay.
of November. So there are many activities such as glacier landing,
Yeah.
kayaking, glacier cruise, all are closed. And
Okay.
uh, they all get closed around after mid-October.
Okay.
So that is something we also learned. Um, but we were okay because the main
Main
purpose
agenda was
was,
Northern Lights.
yeah, main agenda was Northern Light. Uh, keeping that in focus, we booked, like, we're researching about tours which show the Northern Lights and
Yeah.
adventures. We researched about those, and another thing to factor in was like to encounter this cold climate. Like we had to also think about the clothing factor and the
Correct.
layering factor, and also we also planned those things into effect. And one of the couple of key things were to book proper Airbnbs and proper rental car. So in Alaska, like to go all these locations, you need to have a rental car.
Yeah.
And in the rental car, you need to have like a 4x4 car, which can be very stable while driving on ice.
Right.
So one thing I would recommend anyone that you need to have maybe, if possible, get some practice driving on ice, because that was the first time I was driving on ice, and
Yeah.
it was not that easy.
Okay.
And there is like a way and technique to drive on ice, well, to brake on ice and all. I learned it on during the driving trip. But if anyone has while planning the trip, definitely take into account
Mm.
this factor, or try to practice at least maybe for a half an hour after getting the car in city, like driving. If there is ice during the time
Yeah.
people go, then definitely factor in that. And yeah, so mainly, and another thing aspect was like booking the correct air. So after planning the itinerary, like the activity, which was mainly Northern Lights, and planning about the clothing and then rental car, the other thing was like selecting correct Airbnbs.
Yeah.
So we tried to choose because we were four people,
Yeah.
we thought of staying in cabins rather than like a motel or hotel.
Yeah.
So in we tried to book like an Airbnb, which was a little secluded from the city, and that Airbnb was popular for seeing the Northern Lights from the
Yeah.
Airbnb itself. So we also factored into effect, like choosing the right accommodation, and also, yeah, this is the way we plan trip, like allocating the number of days, the majority of days to be in the location where we can see the Northern Lights, factoring the accommodation, the car factor, and also the activities, and the clothing factor.
Yeah. So all those things which you mentioned, right? So if you can share how which portals, so was it you did all of this from some local contact, like after reaching Alaska, like booking the car rental, or maybe getting some clothes which are more suitable and if find it over a better version of it over there, or even the Airbnbs, how did you go about it? Maybe if you can share the portal links, or if you know, if you can suggest that one should better reach Alaska and then book these services over there locally, if you can just shed some light on that.
Yeah, so everything was booked beforehand,
Okay.
before going to Alaska. So let me start with rental car. Rental car, we booked like one of the like rental car companies, yeah, Enterprise, which is a very prominent company. And the only key factor was to choose the 4x4,
Okay.
uh, because
They would be also recommending it, right? Or it was basis your experience you're suggesting this, because it
uh,
becomes difficult for SUV or sedan to be doing.
it's a so yeah, I was definitely not experienced to drive on ice,
Right.
but I read about this a lot on
Okay.
Reddit and other forums. The primary factor was from Anchorage to go to Fairbanks.
Yeah.
So there are multiple ways you can go. People
Okay.
can, so there is also a train which goes. There
Okay.
is a flight, but we were driving. So the driving distance between Anchorage to Fairbanks is like almost 6 hours.
Oh,
And yeah,
long.
and in the month of November, it snows a lot in Alaska.
Yeah.
Um, So fortunately, it wasn't heavily snowing when we were there, except one day. I'll come to that later. Um, but the roads get icy, and then depends up. The US is pretty good while with clearing the ice, but
Right.
still there's like some of the parts of the road which can be icy. So when such are the situations, definitely even the local companies, they would always recommend you 4x4 vehicle,
Okay.
so that it gives you more stability on ice to drive. And so after renting a rental car, for the clothing factor, definitely, yeah, one of the key things is like we don't live in such cold areas, so we have to think about like also buying clothes which can be used
Withstand.
later.
Yeah. Acha.
Later to like so my funda was like to layer up more
Yeah.
layers.
Yeah.
So having like a down jacket and I have a weatherproof shell over top of it, and then having proper gloves,
Right.
and proper shoes. That is also
Right.
matters.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, still, it was not enough for minus 40, I think. But there are, but yeah, we could do only up to a certain extent. The interesting part was booking the Airbnbs.
Yeah.
So that was done. Uh, so while planning the trip, as we came to know that, oh, we cannot do any other much activities apart from Northern Lights because many things were closed. So we thought of maximizing the Northern Lights
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Another activity we did was like hot springs. I will
Yeah.
come to that later. Um, so we factored into think couple of things for the Airbnb. Like we researched a lot on Instagram, on Google, on Reddit, like where to stay, and we were very much interested in staying in an Airbnb to avoid the hotel experience. And because hotels are right in city, and we wanted to
Right.
stay a little away so that we can
I think
see
it's a
the
similar
northern lights.
setup even in Finland, Norway. They have these kind of miniature rooms in the secluded areas from wherein you get a direct vision of the sky, and there are limited resources over there. And I don't know about the food arrangement and all, but I guess in Norway, it's if you stay deep within the forest or maybe in those areas, the food gets delivered and there is some additional charges and all.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
This was like a proper Airbnb, like
Yeah.
a very it was like a proper house, a very nice house. So we researched it on Google and Instagram,
Mm.
and we found like and also Airbnb.
Yeah.
So we found like it was called Aurora Cabin, something like that.
Nice.
And yeah, the name was only like
On
Aurora
spot,
Cabin.
on spot. It
Yeah,
gives you hope, right?
yeah. And that was so meticulously thought and planned by the owners. They had
Okay.
like Aurora cameras installed in the cabins.
Nice.
They had Aurora indicators and all. So the Aurora camera would capture the like feed of the Aurora. So if anyone misses out, you can go, and they had given the link where you can watch. So we
Nice.
thought that okay, this Airbnb owners have really put a thought of thinking that okay, people should enjoy the Aurora experience from here, and looking so that is the Aurora, that is the Airbnb we went with.
Do share the link of it, and if you're shot any video of this particular Airbnb, because I guess I'm sure there would be premium also. They would be charging for all that setup, right? But if it is worth it, then it's worth the effort and the experience also, right?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I definitely share the link.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it was worth it. On the last day, we could see some Aurora through the window.
Yeah.
So and everything else was also very good in this Airbnb. Not only the Aurora emphasis, but the facilities and the amenities given by the owner were very, very good. And then, so main thing was finding this place of stay in
Yeah.
Fairbanks, which would make our which would be comfortable as well as which make experience memorable. So main planning thing or
Yeah.
maximizing our efforts were to find such kind of accommodation.
I can see
I
that
would,
you guys had put in a lot of effort on ensuring that whatever can go wrong is being addressed before the trip.
Yeah.
or at least being aware about it.
Yeah, because we had only main one activity, and we wanted to do it right,
Correct.
and then our whole focus converged on making that right.
Right.
And first is this, then the tour. I will come discuss
Yes.
about that. But then, yeah, we found a perfect accommodation for that, and the rest of the accommodation was in Anchorage. So that was again a Airbnb. That was like straightforward. Like we found some Airbnb near airport,
Yeah.
but it was like very very well maintained and very well reviewed. So we
Yeah.
just looked for that and booked it, and it was also fantastic. So once going through rental car, clothing, and the accommodation, the next big thing was to book the tour, the Aurora tour.
Yeah.
Um, so again, we weren't like experienced Aurora chasers or um, drive. We didn't have experience in driving in icy
Yeah.
conditions, and also next thing was to find this Aurora tour company which would give us that experience.
Yeah.
The way there are also many companies who sell, the Aurora packages and all, but how to differentiate that, who is there to make money, who is there to really give you an authentic experience.
Mm.
So there is this uh, guy called Vincent Ledmina. He's like a PhD student in
Oh,
some who lives in Alaska, and whose hobby is to trace auroras and photograph auroras. So
amazing.
he ties up with a company who specializes in these aurora tours. So we booked that beforehand while going to our trip, and this was also booked like a month before.
How did you find
Uh,
this contact? Like, was it they have a website or was it listed? Like, how did you understand that there is this person and this will be the best experience, or as per your understanding? So, how did you go about it? Because one thing is generally when we travel, we go down to websites like Viator, Klook, Get Your
mhm.
Guide, wherein all these tours and packages are listed, right? But finding out a niche and then knowing about it. So, how did you find this guy?
Yeah, first of all, this I think I would like to give credit to my wife. She found this guy, and I she used Reddit
Okay,
and Instagram. So
nice.
these are the two main options she used. One of the criteria what she does and I do is that we do read a lot of Reddit for getting
Yeah,
authentic information and experience.
yeah.
And so I think one of the Redditors had mentioned about this person,
Okay.
and then from that we went to see the Instagram of this person, and we found him legit. And basically, my wife was looking at his profile for a few days
Yeah.
and looking at his Instagram stories, and could see that he was going every day and putting Aurora things. He was giving a lot of information about the sky conditions, about the Aurora timing, KPI index. So we thought that this guy really knows his
Yeah.
stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not just like a tour guide,
Correct.
but he really knows. And then he had affiliation with couple of companies. One company which we went with, and another company. So basically, there's another person called Maya Hartswigen.
Okay.
She is a lady who is a very good photographer and aurora chaser.
Okay.
And we actually really want to go with her, but we missed out on her
Okay.
because she was already booked.
Okay.
Imagine like she was already booked a month before.
Yeah.
The thing was, but we went with another tie-up of this person who had like a accommodation available for us for that day. And that's how we knew and booked this tour.
So, if you can give an idea about the charges for this tour, or maybe what the in general cost and why this guy or this very specialized experience, was there any difference, or it was in the similar range? And if you can give an idea what the tour package costs and what all inclusions are there?
Yeah, so this tour package was like a private tour.
Yeah.
So it was only for four of us. and the price was like $300 per person.
Okay.
That included to and fro transportation. So
Yeah.
they pick you from your place of accommodation, and they take you to a couple of locations to see the aurora.
Yeah.
And they also click the photos.
Okay.
So they have like so the person who is like who will take you to see the auroras,
Yeah.
he also click the photos for you.
Yeah.
So if at all i- like in a group, if you don't have like an experienced photographer
Correct.
person, then you can definitely consider this, because the photos he clicked was pretty good. It and definitely it's a once in a lifetime experience, so it's definitely
Exactly.
good to cherish that.
Yeah.
And what they do is that they take you to a location where they have built like some small yurts. Like yurt is like
Okay.
a small hut,
Yeah.
and that is like that hut is basically having some like heating conditions inside it. So it's temperature control, and it has a heater inside it. And then they have like some snacks and coffee and all for
Yeah.
you, because the temperature outside is so cold you cannot stand for more than 10 minutes. Okay.
Right.
So the experience is that they take you to this hut, and the tour guide, he will basically do the work of tracking the aurora.
Okay.
Like and he will see the apps, and he will once he spots the aurora, then he will bring you out of the hut and
Okay.
show you the aurora, take the photos. So that was and then once the whole experience lasts for almost like 5 hours.
Okay.
And um, and if you're satisfied, you can ask to wrap up it earlier.
Okay.
But I think the it's like a fire experience by itself, and then they drop you back at your place of accommodation. So this all is included in that price.
So this is what only on one day, or if you don't sight on the first day, they take you every day. What is the kind of arrangement? Like, suppose you are 3 nights over there, right? And if you sight Northern Lights on the first day, do they take you back on the second day, or what, is it only like if if you are able to see it once, able to sight it once, then you're done?
Yeah. So yeah, so they had mentioned and what they do is that on the day you are booked. So let's say if you're booking way in advance, you're not
Yeah.
sure about the conditions on the day you are booked. So in case you don't see it on the
Right.
day which they take you, then they advertise that they would take you again the next day.
Okay.
So was the only company which advertised it like that. That if you're not able to see the
Yeah.
aurora on the first day, they will take you again on the next day, like that. However, there is a catch that imagine you see even little bit of aurora, okay?
I understood. Yeah.
Then it's like you have seen the aurora.
Right.
It may not be spectacular vision,
Understood. Yeah.
and even if it's like a little glimpse,
Yeah.
or if then they will say, oh, you have seen the aurora, so we cannot take you. So that happened with us actually.
Okay.
um, Again, I would say this is pros and cons. I don't know
Correct.
how to say how of booking in advance or booking on
I
the
was
spot.
about to ask, my next question was that can they predict at least on the day or a day before that tomorrow sighting might be possible, or they can, like rain, can they predict sightings at
Yeah, yeah.
maybe? Yeah.
So they can predict the sightings,
Yeah.
but what we experienced was they won't give you recommendations
Mhm.
like, hey, today we don't think it's gonna be spectacular, so do you want to book some other day? No, they won't do that.
Okay.
But they would know how, like, of course they have the data to have an idea of how the sky will look tonight.
Correct.
That is up to you. So I would recommend anyone here.
Yeah.
that you do your own due diligence and research a little bit. And
Yeah.
even if you book a tour, uh, and if you don't feel confident that tonight the sky won't be that spectacular, then beforehand you call them and postpone it. And
Okay.
so that you can do. With us, what happened was we reached Fairbanks that night, literally at 8 p.m., and our tour started at 9:30 p.m. So
Okay.
we really didn't have the bandwidth to monitor the sky conditions and all. And even though my wife thought that tonight may not be that spectacular because she was reading a lot about it,
Yeah.
but what they advertised us was that they would drive like towards like very long distances until and unless we see that. That's
Right.
what they promised us, and we went by it. But
Yeah.
there are few caveats. Once we reached there, um, their whole experience, I would say, was good. I mean, I won't say it was like bad or anything. But unfortunately, on that day, the aurora was not that spectacular.
Right.
So we did see some aurora in the sky.
Yeah.
We do also have photos through the through camera. The
It looks
actual
good.
photos he took, it looked nice.
Yeah. So
But
that is what I actually heard also, right? Naveen, I guess
hmm,
there were a few instances in the recent months where people in UK, a certain part of UK and Canada experienced aurora right in their backyard, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so I guess Naveen also had that experience, and he mentioned the same thing. It looks wild in the photos, but in real you won't feel the same intensity. It's kind of a fabric which keeps on moving, and the intensity
yeah,
is not similar what it looks in reality.
yeah, yeah. So I'll come to that.
Yeah.
But I have a surprise for you too. So, but that day, it
Yeah.
was very underwhelming. Okay,
Yeah.
it looked as if, yeah, as you mentioned, like maybe people from Canada or Seattle, they would see it look like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, uh, anyone wouldn't go to Alaska to see that image of
Yeah.
what we saw that day.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, to be honest, very underwhelming. And the tricky part was like the tour company for them, it's like, oh, you have seen the aurora.
You're done.
Then yeah, so it's not. So we did request them that
Yeah.
can you bring us again tomorrow
Yeah.
if we request. And also it was a hassle, to be honest, because according to them we had seen the aurora, and then how they would be convinced that we didn't see and all, even though it was not that great. But I think this is the very tricky part whenever like you book a tour which gives you an experience with nature, right? You
Yeah.
cannot predict nature, and this is like always a gamble.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
like
But
first,
see, it's more of a gamble for people who are traveling from far away, like from India to travel to
yeah,
Finland or Norway. It's like not only a gamble in terms of time, day, but also in terms of cost, energy, office
yeah,
leaves, right? So I think one way you are better placed is that it was still in US, and the cost wise element I think would be a bit lower compared to what we Indians have to when we have to plan for it, right? Because going all the way from here to Finland or Norway and then having that little window and that
yeah,
chance is more of a risk,
yeah.
right?
So that's what, like, even we researched like the best
Yeah.
person and the best company and the one of the best times, still it was underwhelming. One of the thing was, like I mentioned, right, that person Vincent Ledwina, who was the main criteria for choosing
Yeah.
the company. So unfortunately on that day he wasn't our tour guide.
Okay.
So because there's a Thanksgiving weekend, so in US
Okay.
many people take off and they celebrate with their family.
Yeah.
So the person we got, he was I think a little inexperienced as well. So I call it luck or whatever, but and um, he was a little reluctant to take us to other locations too,
Okay.
to chase the Northern Lights.
Okay.
I think what we felt was he was just there to do his job. So
Right.
I would say even sometimes like the best tour companies and best review things, it's all subjective when it comes to about
Yeah.
nature, because on that day we have seen photos with the same company 2 days, 3 days ago, 1 week ago. They have seen amazing pictures of sky,
Yeah.
but it's you can't help it, and then you can't
Right.
blame the
Correct.
nature or anyone. So this is always a tricky part. I found this was like a very tricky part. Like even though we researched a lot, we pre-booked a lot of things, and we were very thorough in our bookings and research, but
Yeah.
still we felt that it wasn't enough for
Yeah.
this. Um, so yeah, that was about the tour company and on that day. But fortunately, we had kept couple of more days for
Yeah.
us for the same reason that if we cannot see it on the first night or if we are not happy, then we have more days. And yeah, that's how our trips unfolds next.
Nice. So, so did they accept your request? And how did you go out? So you booked again a tour with them, or did they negotiate on the rates and took you again, or was it some other tour company you guys went along?
Yeah, so we did so what we did was the next day, so this was the first night in Fairbanks,
Yeah.
and we had 2 more nights.
Yeah.
And our plan was that, yeah, if you're not happy or if we do not see, we will keep on
Correct.
chasing the northern light. So next day itinerary was actually hot springs, Chena Hot Springs.
Yeah.
So Chena Hot Springs is a private resort
Yeah.
facility in Fairbanks, and they have like natural hot springs there, but it's like maintained. But it
Okay.
is now it's the, it's like a resort now. Like, I mean,
Okay.
it is maintained and it is
It is
lot of
privately held by that.
privately held. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is
Okay.
privately held by a company.
Yeah.
So which manages that, and you need to also pre-book that. So we also had pre-booked this Chena Hot Springs
Okay.
experience and all. About the Chena Hot Springs, I would like to say that don't stay in that resort. So
Okay.
it's also a resort,
Yeah.
and
I was
many
about
people
to ask, did you book or did you
no.
just, yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't stay there, and I
Okay.
would advise people not to stay there too.
Okay.
It is overhyped and not that
Okay.
money's worth.
Okay.
So it's a resort, and many people stay there
Okay.
because you can get to visit hot springs multiple times if you stay there, and it's some people's preference to stay in that part of Fairbanks. But from my experience, I found um, for what that resort offers, it's not worth to stay there.
Okay.
It's not that reasonable. It was expensive, and for that price, I didn't feel what about
Yeah.
it. I would say if you want to experience Chena Hot Springs, you can take a day pass,
Okay.
and the day pass is like $50 to $60 per person, and it
Okay.
gives you access to the hot springs, and
Okay.
then you can stay in the hot springs as long as you want,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, you can experience it, and that come about it. And there's like a nice ice museum in that area
Yeah.
which you can visit, and they have a good place to eat on site. So there is not many places around there to eat as well. So yeah, even anyone can have like dinner and all there, or like snacks or coffee and all. So in that way, it is very well placed. They have very good facilities, so that um, it's we didn't feel anywhere that there is problems of food for us in that area.
How about
Um, s-
vegetarians?
Surprisingly, I would say they have very good options.
Just China
So
or overall you are saying in Alaska?
overall in Alaska, so
Okay.
Anchorage is a big city again.
Yeah.
So Anchorage, we had a very nice Indian meal in a Nepali restaurant,
Nice.
and they had very good food like dal chawal, and
Thakalis.
huh?
Thakalis. The Nepalis have thakalis, right? Their thalis are called as thakalis.
Yeah, yeah. And it was one of the best Indian food I had, not only in Alaska but in overall in US. So I would vouch that in Anchorage anyone won't have any problem. In Fairbanks, uh, I didn't find many Indian food options,
Yeah.
and but there are many Thai restaurants over
Nice.
there, which are very good Thai restaurants, and they have very good vegetarian options.
Okay.
So yeah, one of the things I forgot to mention when you asked me about planning for the trip, right?
Yeah.
One of the thing is food as well.
Yeah.
Because before I planned, many people told me who had been there, like, oh, there is like problems of food and everything. I would say that if you eat vegetarian food, but if you're not strictly Indian food eater, then
Yeah.
you do have options like
Okay.
sandwiches and Thai food and all. However, it's always good to carry some like ready to eat meals as well. So we did carry some ready to
Yeah.
eat meals like MTR and all,
Yeah.
so which we could hit, and they were really useful for emergency purposes and lunch
Correct.
purposes. One thing is that when you go in um, winter months, the daylight is only 2 to 3 hours. So the daylight starts at 11 a.m. and ends at 4 or 5 p.m. Okay,
Oh,
one so about food, we had carried some ready to eat, so we always had lunch in our Airbnbs with that. So we didn't waste time looking for like a restaurant. But we always had lunch outside in a restaurant. So
yes.
that is what we did.
One thing, since you mentioned this, as in I'm unaware, I haven't experienced such phenomena that the daylight is only for 3 hours and then the rest 20 hours of the day. So when you stay in such a place for maybe 6, 7 days, how are the energy levels in the body? Like, do you tend to sleep more, or are you inclined to sleep more? How are the moods? Because I think it might get a bit depressing also, right, over time to stay in where there is darkness all around you for maximum part of the day.
Uh, yeah, I think if you don't have any activity, it can get boring.
Yeah.
Then you will always feel like in Airbnb watching movie. Like our last day was we didn't have any activity,
Yeah.
so it was mainly like relaxing, watching TV, sleeping, and the part is I think in the morning day, like even if you wake up at 10 a.m., it's still dark outside because the sunlight kicks in at
No one is going
11 a.m.
to say you are late.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Uh, but fortunately, yeah, it can get quite depressing and boring if, let's say, if you don't have any activity and
Right.
or you have just like an extra day to kill.
Yeah.
So at that day you can feel lazy and all. But I would say most of the f fun there happens at the night chasing Aurora. So
Right.
what we did was we started our day around we around like 2:30 p.m. and all,
Yeah.
2 p.m. 2:30 p.m. So we got little sunlight, and and then everything then had darkness, and then after waking up, sunlight would come in. Like we would wake up like around late mornings, like 9:30 10, and had breakfast, coffee, and lunch, everything, and get ready to go. So we try to go have like 2 hours of sunlight at least,
Yeah.
um, so that we don't feel like we haven't seen the sun for like 5 to 6 days. Yeah, it can get a little. Yeah, I would say it would take. It's little unusual because
Yeah.
the time zone change and psychological change of living in a place where there's like little sunlight and all. But I think what kept us motivated, enthusiastic was
And for
to
Northern Lights.
yeah, exactly. So that's that.
So coming back, the second time you guys went for Northern Lights, how did you go about? Was it the same tour, or how did you go about it? Because I guess
Yeah,
that would mean you had to book a new tour a day prior to your
yeah.
excursion.
Yeah, the thing happened the second day after having the hot spring experience. We were debate. So we did call the tour company people to talk about our experience, and they were
Yeah.
not ready to offer us second day of
Yeah.
sighting because the best they did was they uh, like for them it was like done, and they weren't ready to take us again. So fortunately, what happened is I was standing there in near a cafeteria of that place, and they had their own tours as well. So that Chena Hot Springs,
Okay.
they have their own Aurora tours. Yeah, so this one is a little different. It's not like a private tour, it's like a group tour. So
Yeah.
they take you in like custom-made tank type vehicles. It's very cool. Yeah, imagine like a World War II type of small tank vehicle, which can go over ice, and it looks really cool. So I mean, they had their own tour, and we came to know about that and all, but we didn't know what to do at that time. Should we again pay for a tour, and what will happen if you don't see it again? Like so we were debating if we should go ourselves chasing the aurora,
Hmm.
or we should still go with the tour. So at that moment, I saw like one of the local guy. He was like a local tour guide. He was talking to a group of people, and he was explaining them, and I catch the word. He said tonight's gonna be spectacular.
Uh,
And I caught that word from him. And I went and talked to my friends and my wife, and I told them that first of all, going by yourself in dark Alaskan
yeah.
weather on icy cold roads is not that safe
Correct.
unless you're a very experienced driver and you know the
You know the route
locations.
also.
And
That helps.
yeah, we didn't know the route. We weren't anticipating the extreme harsh winter conditions.
Correct.
Only we had motivation, right?
Correct.
So we thought that let's we all unanimously voted, let's go with this tour and let's see, because what the worst can happen, at least we tried, right? Like
Yeah.
going on the second night, and rather than ourselves chasing some place and uh, being dejected, we
Correct.
just thought let's go. And then we inquired that they take us on the top of a mountain with that
Okay.
on their tank type vehicle. So
Okay.
that's what they told us, like you will go on the top of a mountain and all. So we thought, okay, maybe you will have a clear view, right? Nothing
Yeah.
is going to block you. So if we see, we see. We were like, this is our last chance, right?
Yeah.
But we had a hope. And my wife, she again saw some apps and she said, tonight looks good. That's what
Yeah.
she said. But again, we didn't have much hope.
Yeah.
So we went with the tour, and then when we went, we reached the top of the mountain. So that experience, I mean, the it was a little going in that car in top. I would say it was not that comfortable compared to the
Mhm.
tour day before.
Yeah.
So I would say the tour day before is kind of a luxury tour. Like they
Yeah.
take you in a like a custom Mercedes van and all.
Yeah.
This was like a little group tour, like community tour kind of
Yeah.
thing, in which you don't expect like comfort. But
Yeah.
once we reached there, the moment I set my foot on that icy cold mountain, on my above me in the sky, I could see amazing, amazing aurora, spectacular view, all with naked eyes,
Yeah.
and all. Imagine, like we were in awe like this for like
Right.
all four of us, and we didn't talk to each other. We were just admiring the view. We saw bands, we saw the dancing lights, and let me tell you, this was not white. This was not, this was exactly as you see in camera through your naked eyes.
Right.
I could see with my naked eyes all the spectacular aurora colors, the band, and it was so bright. It was not even faint, and I could see the dancing light, the ring, purple, pink, red light. And we were like admiring. Everyone was happy. Everyone, all the people from the tour, they were screaming. Everyone was taking photos. And then, uh, yeah, after like enjoying those moments, I had a chance to talk to one of the staff. And then she told me that this was the best sighting since August, where she had seen in Alaska.
Nice.
And like that that time, that day kind of made our trip.
Yeah.
Otherwise, honestly, our trip would be not that. I would say won't. I won't call it successful.
So
So
that's
this
very, very
moment,
interesting
yeah,
because
this
on the day
moment,
one you mentioned, what you had in mind was a guy who was doing a PhD. You were taken in a private vehicle. The hut was there. So your expectation levels were set, but the nature disappointed. But second day, the
yeah,
experience of reaching there was totally anticlimactic. It was a bit dull, but what you experienced was the other extreme, more than what you could have
yeah,
imagined, right?
exactly. So yeah, I had imagined this kind of experience on the sky before, and
Yeah,
maybe the people who went with our previous tour company on this day, they might have seen an
yeah,
amazing
yeah.
sky too. But um, I would say that we were on top of a mountain, so we had unobstructed 360-degree views.
Right.
And there, so in what happens is, again, like in Aurora, you see these amazing sightings, but they last for 15 minutes or
Okay.
so, 20 minutes, and they may disappear and they may again
Yeah.
reappear.
Correct.
So that happened two times during our stay.
Nice.
And it and I think I would say that I still remember that moment in front of my eyes. And I'm a very enthusiastic photographer myself,
Yeah, yeah,
and I love photography. But and many a times I always would click a photo, then see
yeah,
something. But that time, even I didn't feel like clicking a photo.
yeah.
I would
True, true.
not even touch my camera. I
I
would,
can understand looking at your face also, like right at this moment, you're teleported over there, and what you are experiencing, you're just visualizing. I think that's nature also in its truest form, right? It leaves you with
yeah,
awe, right? Something you can think of, but not unless you experience, you don't know how it makes you feel. While you were
yeah.
mentioning it, I was also trying to visualize it, like standing on top of a hill, and I was visualizing Nolan's music from Interstellar playing in background
Hmm.
with the northern lights up in the sky.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there was a moment I clearly noticed, and they called it the dancing lights. So the staff, right? The staff,
Yeah,
they, so again, they have a similar setup. They have a big
yeah,
hut,
yeah,
and they have a heater and all, and they have snacks and everything. But this is just like a big group or community
yeah,
kind of thing,
yeah,
than like our previous experience, like private experience. But they were equally good with their facilities amenities. So whenever the staff sees something, again, because it's so cold outside, people are not always outside there. And again, this experience is like 3 to 4 hours. So people would be there for like, in this 3 to 4 hours, people would stay there for only 20 minutes or 30 minutes at the max.
yeah,
So majority time they would be inside having snacks, making themselves warm and comfortable.
yeah,
So whenever the aurora would happen, the staff would shout, the lights are dancing, the lights are dancing. And that phenomenon is spectacular. You would see the actual lights moving in the
yeah,
different shades of color, and it's amazing. And it's not like uh, whatever you can see through photograph, through a camera, you could see through your own eyes. You
yeah,
don't need a camera. And that itself convinced me that okay, my trip is successful now,
yeah, yeah, very
and
true.
coming here was worth it.
Yeah,
So I would say people that whenever you plan and you have an agenda in mind, that is always better to give yourself 2 or 3 days for
yeah,
this,
very good.
so you won't get disappointed. Otherwise, if we had only one day and one night, that night we would have been disappointed with our experience. But again, it depends on every person's priorities and the itineraries. So if anyone's itinerary has a heavy focus on Aurora, I would recommend at least have 2 nights.
Yeah,
At least have 2 nights in Aurora. And in my experience, I would tell everyone that maybe first go with this group tour, with rather than taking a private tour, and experience it. Maybe you get lucky, you see amazing, spectacular aurora, and if you don't see it, then maybe take the private tour the next second time. So do reverse like what we did.
I think when things don't go as per expectations, but the end result is the best version you had thought of, that is a memory of a lifetime. I think it actually,
Yeah,
if things go according to plan, it's something you always visualize. But when it gets better is when things don't go according to plan, but still the outcome is the best.
right. Yeah, very true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think so. What I was thinking when you were mentioning is, how did you guys feel when you came back to the Airbnb after the ride? Because I
Oh,
think this is something which no one would have imagined, right? Basis the prior
yeah,
night.
yeah. We were very happy and satisfied,
Yeah.
and we thought that we achieved what we wanted from this trip.
Yeah.
And we really were happy as well that we were all on the same page and we decided to just take a leap of faith and go with that trip.
Yeah.
Imagine four people, even if someone disagrees and they say
Yeah.
we already spent a lot of money on the first
Yeah.
trip and it didn't go as expected, and why to go on the second trip? And then we would have been regretted by it. But
Yeah.
that unanimous decision, everyone aligning, and we were just grateful to everyone that
Yeah.
okay, we just took that call and we went and we were all happy, and yeah, we
Yeah.
got what we
I
wanted.
think listening to your gut instinct is very critical in such cases.
Yeah, yeah. Always like, yeah, one thing I would like to emphasize, I myself also like I am a person who always plans a lot, over
Yeah.
plans, reads tons of comments on Reddit, Google reviews, this, that. But I would say, like, this experience also taught me that sometimes you need to think, you need to trust your gut, you need to think
Yeah.
instantaneously, quick, because this tour was not in our initial planning.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was not in our initial itinerary. It was
Yeah.
just spontaneous.
True.
So I would say, yeah, just sometimes maybe be spontaneous.
Yeah, yeah. It teaches a lesson also. Not everything is for the present day. I think something you will look back maybe after years and you will realize that in that moment you understood how to think in such situations. I believe. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so, so tell me, so now that the main agenda of the trip was achieved, what all did you guys do on the rest of the days? How did you go about them?
Yeah. So our last night was in Fairbanks,
Yeah.
and then we were about to drive back to Anchorage, and then we had
Mm.
like 2 days in Anchorage. So on the last day, we mainly had achieved what we wanted. So
Yeah.
we only wanted to see, there's like a Santa Claus house.
Yeah.
It's called North Pole area of Arctic area of Alaska,
Okay.
Fairbanks. So we went to the Santa Claus house. It's a nice place. It's like a shopping kind of experience.
Yeah.
They have made like Santa Claus statue, and also, I mean, it's fun, but it's commercialized.
Yeah.
So we just went to that Santa Claus house and just called it a day, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. And I think, yeah, there's nothing much to see in Fairbanks, to be
Yeah.
honest. It's only the Santa Claus house, the hot springs, and mainly this Aurora. And once we finished that, we drove back the next day, again, the 6 hour drive back to Anchorage. And then we had one couple of more days. Um, so there is like a small town called Seward, the town I mentioned you, right, which is very has close proximity to the Russian border. So
Yeah.
it's the town name is Seward, and it is towards the southern part of Alaska. So it's like
Okay.
a small fishing town.
Okay.
So I had visited that town back in 2019 during my trip with my roommates back then, and like it was summer weather, and that town was spectacular during summer. So
Oh, nice.
we did sea kayaking and all that time. So we didn't have any plans to see much, do sightseeing in Anchorage. So we thought of good driving there,
Yeah.
just to see. So there is like one national park called Kenai Fjords National Park, and
Okay.
it has like a naturally formed glacier fjords and all.
Oh, nice.
So mostly it showed like road closed and all, but we thought like let's check out, like if we can get an opportunity. And if not, we'll just go and see Seward because it's near to the ocean, the Alaskan Ocean and all. And we all have seen enough mountains and also let's experience that part of Alaska. And we went there, but I would say that it was like the most of the town was closed. There's only like few things open up there. So it was just like kind of a drive experience to see the ocean front of Alaska. But I would say that the town was much more happening during the summer month, and it was
Mhm.
kind of relatively dead during our time. So yeah, I would not recommend anyone to maybe if you have other better plans, maybe not go to Seward during the winter time. But unless you are like just love to drive and excited to see the ocean front. Um, One of the challenging part was like while coming back from Seward, I think it was one of the most difficult experience of my driving history. The snowfall had started.
Mm.
It was pitch dark while we were driving back, and it was snowing a little bit. I would not say it was not snowing heavily, but it was still snowing. And it was really scary to drive because it was all hazy and the driving conditions were very, 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 like, no, it wasn't good. So somehow I drove through that patch. I don't know how. But I would say that um, if anyone is going during these months, do factor into this that the driving conditions might get harsh and it can be also not easy.
Okay.
So always have the most experienced driver drive these routes.
Now you are one of
And
them, right?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I'm proud of myself for having
Yeah, surely.
driven through that patch. It was not easy, but yeah, I kind of underestimated the
Yeah.
again the Alaskan weather. So that is something I would recommend people that they don't underestimate, and always weather conditions can get harsh real quick, and uh, if possible try to cover as much distance during the daylight as possible. And
Yeah.
once we came near Anchorage, the infrastructure is very good near
Right.
Anchorage in terms of street light and all. So I was okay. And also you can see a lot of cars entering Anchorage because it's a major city. But if you're
Yeah.
especially in the interior small town, then it gets really tricky. And
Nice.
once we had a thrilling experience, the next day it was just like wrapping up, and it was like almost Christmas time to like holiday
Yeah.
time, not Christmas time, but Thanksgiving and all. So we just had a relaxing day. We watched some Christmas movies and we called it a day. And yeah, the next day we wrapped it up and head home.
Yeah. Nice. So, listening to you share the whole story, I guess you guys were equally, what I can say, you had gratitude for spending those days in the inside in the Fairbanks also, and in the capital city where you found some solace in the city also, right? Coming back to the streets.
Yeah.
So a few questions, not exactly questions, but it's kind of a reflection on your trip, right? So what surprised you most about Alaska? Something you were not aware or you had not thought of?
Um, it mainly about the changing weather conditions. Um, so one thing is that the I didn't anticipate the driving conditions would be very harsh, can get harsh. I had one of the most challenging drives I have ever had. And another thing is that Alaska is so untouched. It feels so pristine. It feels like you're in a movie. Um, Whatever beautiful landscape you see in movies, you can be a part of it there. And
And
I mean, if you drive a little further from towns, yeah, you have really untouched natural beauty.
so, what's something which you feel was totally normal in Alaska, but would be bizarre anywhere else?
Um, I think like people enduring the extreme weather conditions, staying there.
Right.
Uh, we had an instance where the water pipe were frozen for a day and we didn't have water in the sink. And then my Airbnb host tells me, "Welcome to the Alaska life." That's how it's here. And yeah, but still, like the spirit of the people living there, I was amazed that you still get very hot, delicious food. One of the best, few of the best Thai food, one of the best Indian food I had. Whatever the extreme conditions you have, uh, you can still get there. So that is like the amazing thing I experienced.
Nice. And so this might sound very similar to what you guys felt on the going for the second trip. But if someone is on the fence about going to Alaska to experience the Northern Lights, what would you say to convince them? Right? Because there are questions, right? What if we don't experience? What if we don't get the experience first and what you are thinking of? But this is about going to Alaska, right? Planning a trip. What would you say to convince them that you should
Uh,
go ahead with it?
um, I would say that go during, especially if anyone is going for first time, I
Yeah.
would recommend them going into peripheral season.
Yeah.
Because like Alaska is much more than Northern Lights.
Yeah.
Alaska is not only Northern Lights. Alaska is
Yeah.
nature. Alaska has Denali National Park. Alaska has glacier cruise. Alaska has um, sea kayak, glacier landing on via plane.
Yeah.
So definitely the cherry on top of the cake is Northern Lights. So make it the star of the itinerary, but also have other plans. So in case you miss out on the Northern Lights, you
Yeah.
have other memorable experiences and you can still take out some nice memories out of your trip and don't turn out to be dejected. And that can be still a very great trip, in my opinion. I would strongly advise that especially if someone is going for first time,
Yeah.
then uh, definitely go for the whole package and make Aurora part of that itinerary and maybe a significant one. And I would ensure that if I would hope that anyone who goes there investing so much time, effort, and money, that you get to see the spectacle what you
Yeah.
see in photos, and I
Yeah.
hope you get that. And that is, I would say, truly magical. And even that one moment, 5-10 minutes, maybe you will think that my trip's worth it.
Yeah.
But that being said, because of the commitment it requires and effort, as you mentioned, someone from outside United States coming, do plan in such a way that you also get to see some other things. So
Yeah.
plan like October or March, where in case at all if you miss on Northern Lights, you have other things to do so that you will still come out well.
Great, great. Thanks, Sushant, for sharing your experience. I think more than sharing your experience, it was also about sharing those insights about what can go wrong. Certainly, in places like this, nothing is guaranteed, right? Starting from transportation to food, logistics, anything can go wrong. Nature is the topmost, but I think that gives an idea for someone who is planning to know about all these factors and how to go about it. You shared your planning insights also, which were much more critical because all we are accustomed to is booking a tour package and going about it, right? Not
Mhm.
considering other facts and something what one which might not be aware about, right? So thanks a lot for your time and your insights. It was glad having you on our channel, and I hope this is the first of many experiences you share, and we have you back again for different trips and to share your experiences about it. Thank you for your time.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. And I'm glad maybe some of the things I shared may be helpful for some of the
Yeah,
viewers. So, yeah, equally glad to be part of your show. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you everyone for watching the video till the end. If you have liked the video, please subscribe to our channel. This will encourage us to bring more such content to you for different countries across the globe and more destinations across India itself. All the tour packages which were described in the video, the links are shared in the description. The complete trip itinerary is also shared as a part of the video description. Hope it helps you plan your next trip to your dream destination. Thank you and have a great day.